Okay, so welcome to Power Rangers: The Putty Hour, Season 2, Episode 6. I and also now, if you're actually like watching on the stream or eventually listening on the podcast version of this, which I will actually touch on here in a bit, you will actually see titles now. Because guess what? We're pro. We're doing titles now.
Oh, wow.
I
Little by
know.
little, right?
I know,
Yeah.
little by little, little Mexican engine that could there for me and Nick.
Yeah, this is 2.0 of like 2.0.
That's right. We're NXT 3.0, son.
I love it.
We're doing it big time. So thank you so much for joining us. And then of course we wouldn't be doing this without a special guest because we have been blessed lately to be able to talk to some amazing people and have some awesome Power Rangers content creators on. And today we have A+ more phenomenals. Adam Perez, how are you?
Good to see you, man. Thank you very much, Matt, for having me on. Good to see you, Nick. Thank you very much, guys. It's great to be able to talk some Power Rangers with you guys. I'm really pumped for this.
I know it's always funny. Me and Nick talk about like the reason we decided to do this was because it was always just me and him in our comic book chat, geeking out about Power Rangers, and we're like, we need someone to actually like talk about this, because like Nick doesn't want me like calling his phone.
No, trust me, man. I totally agree, man. It's always fun to get as many people involved as you possibly can. So, especially when it's just a small group like you two, yeah, man, a third person always helps for sure.
Absolutely. It's already helping. Look, we are already boosted and ready to get this show rolling. See, I could even see, this is Matt and I's energy so far,
It really is. Well, and coffee. And coffee. So real quick, I want to touch on the podcast portion of this because we took a bit of a break in between seasons.
We don't talk about those, Matt.
I know. There was like a lot of great episodes back then.
It's a vault, Indiana Jones style.
There were a lot of great episodes back then, and unfortunately, none of those are like available on iTunes anymore. Like they kind of shifted. It looks like, and like my provider shifted, and so I'm having to like redo that and get all those back up there. So I am working on it. It is in the process of getting back into podcast form because this is actually how this all started was just a podcast, me and you talking. So I will have those updated hopefully soon, and I'll be able to give an update on stuff, but it is already in the works. So all that whatever stuff out of the side, let's talk about some Power Rangers, and let's start. I almost want to switch this because I hate starting on negatives. I don't want to start on negatives. You know what? I am going to
get the okay. I was going to say get the bad out of the way.
Oh, fine. All right. Good point. Yeah, that's a good point. So Power Rangers held a Fan First Tuesday while we were on break. And there was a lot of excitement and buzz around it. We even talked about it because we actually had our show the week before. And so we were like kind of excited. We'd seen some leaks. So we thought maybe the sword, the Power Sword would be revealed. And then everything else was kind of nebulous. And lo and behold, Power Sword was revealed. And you can find all that information on comicbook.com if you so choose, if you so want to do. But then of course they showed the 3 new figures, which were the 3 rounding out the team, the Ninjetti figures, which look super slick. And then we got a look at the Ascension Dragon Sword, and then I think, if I'm remembering correctly, that was it. And all of that was kind of in a very tight and concise, like 13 minutes, which is not a big deal to me, unless you compare it to the thing that it followed, which was an hour-long Transformers live stream where they revealed like it felt like 90 figures and 90 things. So I think tacking that on I think is that what really sealed the fate for me anyway. It was like tacking on. It could have been its own 13-minute thing on a Thursday. Like Fan First Thursday, like just do that and then do a 13-minute thing, and I don't think it receives the flack that it got. But it got a lot of backlash, and it got a lot of people talking about the direction of the brand and stuff. Adam, since you are our guest, where do you? Well, one, what did you think of how did you react to it all, of the whole thing, and also what would you like to see done better? Kind of moving forward.
Well, I will say, we can't forget the fantastic pinata spot that we got in regards to the infomercial. Um,
I forgot
so
about
yeah,
that.
we did get a pinata too, which I believe another content creator for Power Rangers, Ranger Liz, I think might have actually went out and purchased one. And I saw her post it over on Twitter. It looks great. She's got a kid of her own, so it definitely makes sense. But yeah, I was there for I actually jumped on early to go ahead and check out the Transformers one as well. While I wasn't there for Transformers, I was just like, let me just get in early. Let me see what they're talking about, see what the vibe of the day is. And the Transformers went on super professional, some great products for a good old hour, like you mentioned. And then when we get to Power Rangers, it's just a whole different story. And I would agree with you, Matt, in the sense that I feel like we've had Fan First Fridays or Fan First Thursdays or whatever that have been like 15 minutes before, maybe 30 minutes before. So the idea of not doing it solo by itself does make me scratch my head a little bit. But yeah, I think if anything, it felt even worse at the fact that you just saw somebody go before you that just did a fantastic presentation for an hour. Oh yeah, and by the way, here's Power Rangers. That's really what it felt like. We talked about this on A Plus More Phenomenal the past weekend. It's one of those things where I wonder where Hasbro is mindset wise in regards to them trying to push the idea of reboot and reimagining their universe, but at the same time trying to also juggle sort of what came before. Like I do wonder if there's a lackluster movement in this in regards to not really sure what to do with a lot of the past franchises, at least a lot of the past series. Because of the fact that they want to focus maybe so much on the new stuff. So I do wonder if there is a level of fatigue on that side, uncertainty in regards to really how to push their Lightning collection kind of going forward. Even though the products that we've seen, I really enjoyed the products for sure. For me, it was just the presentation. And I am wondering where the struggle is that Hasbro's finding when it comes to presenting this stuff compared to the other stuff that they want to really push forward.
Yeah, Nick, what do you think?
Yeah, that's an interesting point because it really does depend on what they actually want to do, right? Like in terms of right now, they're developing that combined, like reports of that combined cinematic TV and movie universe thing for Netflix, and so if they really want to just focus on that moving forward, maybe that's why there's less of less of material, I guess they want to pull from now because maybe there's maybe they're saving stuff for later. It's like, oh well, we don't want to produce like more than the Power Sword right now because we have like all this other stuff planned for when we launch like something completely new. But at the same time, that's still like, then you wouldn't be doing Lightning Collection stuff. So I don't know. I'm confused. It's just kind of like. And then seeing that Power Sword, and then seeing it's like $220, like I'm just
it was $29.99 for like 5 minutes.
Really? Oh yeah, I did see that. I missed that. That's the deal. How much was the Dragon Dagger?
Not as much. Like I want to say like a hundo max. Like I really feel like it came in under. Look, I mean, look, I feel like it came in like $80 or something. But like,
I just love the descriptor. That's all.
I mean, of course,
hundo made me laugh. So here's the thing. Yeah. So I saw some people bagging on the sword. I understand from the price point. I totally get that. Like that is like to me like a valid. Not even they're all valid. Obviously, criticisms are all valid. You can have your opinion, but I'm saying that like for me. I understood where the price criticisms were coming from because that's a lot of money. Look, I mean, that's a lot of money. And also, it does bring up an interesting question, kind of what Adam alluded to of what market are you trying to feed? And Hasbro is trying, I think, to one make it so where like some of these things were released relatively recently by Bandai before the switch over. Like there, and also there was, I mean, if you remember, I think we even talked about it a little bit last time where like when Bandai was losing the license and like stuff was all in transition, Bandai like flooded the market with Power Ranger stuff. It was everywhere. I mean, you go into a GameStop and like find half the line including a Dragon Dagger, including Saba and all those things. Like they just released all that stuff so they could get whatever money they could get at the end, right? But figures, legacy figures were everywhere. I remember that. And for me, I was like, I don't need to complete my collection because like Hasbro's, I'm going to end up redoing it anyway. So why am I going to do it twice? I'm not doing it twice. I'm already here. Let me wait for that stuff. So because of that, I can understand them wanting to do things a little differently because, well, we don't want to give you the exact same thing you had because you already have that. And those people popping that kind of money aren't going to buy something they literally already have. Like if you try, Bandai did kind of super collector-y stuff. That was what their replicas and their role play items were for the most part. They were for the collector and they had like some fun things on them. Don't get me wrong, but like they were aimed at the collector, right? So Hasbro comes in and is like, okay, well, if we're going to redo this, they already have one. So we need to do something that's a little different with it and try and kind of maybe walk a line between having fun things that like kids would actually want to mess with, or people just like in your house who are looking at your collection, like, oh, hey, let me show you this kind of thing. And do something though that a collector would still want to have in their office or in their, den or their place or wherever they have their stuff. They're proud to show it, but there is also something extra. For me, I can understand that. And I actually am cool with that. I don't necessarily need like the thing I am looking for. I don't own a power sword. I didn't get Bandai's. I missed out on that. So I'm kind of looking to Hasbro to start doing some of these items so that I can actually get them for the first time, right? So that's the kind of buyer I am. But also, as someone who sat here with the Dino Knight Morpher, which I got to do a little fun video with at some point because it's like super fun, right? But as someone who sat here and then watched his daughter, who's 2 and 2 months, walk over and go, "Oh, what's that?" and then hit the button and it plays like several things of music from the show, and she's literally sitting there just dancing away and like fighting whatever, and then wants to hit the button again. That item is going to get more use from us and her just running around here playing with it and her jacking it from my office all the time than it is just me having it sit up on the thing. The same thing is going to be with the Dragon Dagger. If the button gets hit, she's like all on it. Like she wants to play with it and wants to do the thing. That stuff is kind of bagged on by collectors. I've seen it in Twitter, I've seen it on social media, but that's the stuff that actually makes it fun and a worthwhile purchase for someone like me. And so I can see why some people are coming at that. Well, I just want the high-end replica thing. And I get it. And that's not for you. There is a problem with messaging. To me, the problem is not the item. I actually dig the power sword. I understand the price point is high, but it's the messaging. Who is that for? And if right now it's just kind of murky, you don't really, it's kind of for everybody. And that's really what the like the little icon should be on the end. Should be like, I don't know. It should be like a little shrug.
Well, I also think the idea that if it is meant to be for everybody, I also think the energy from the people that are presenting the material needs to be there too, because for me, like while you certainly might be a collector, I don't really consider myself a big collector when it comes to action figures or collecting collectible pieces. Like if I am really going to purchase something, it really has to wow me. Like one of the first pieces I literally just ordered was the Zap, the Zord Ascension Project Dino Megazord that they did. And that was a huge purchase for me and one of my first, but like, so I don't mind doing big purchases like that if it really wows me. But again, since I'm not necessarily the target audience of people that actually collect this, I think as Hasbro, you also have to just go in there with the mentality that you are showing this to people that may not know your product at all, or this may be the first time that you're actually getting it. So the idea of them doing a quick 13, 15-minute video of, oh, here's the stuff that we have. This is what it does, yada, yada, yada. And then you close with that. That's really not like the pitch that you really want first-time viewers of your content or your product to really see. So I do think some of that too, like you said, not necessarily the product's the issue, but very much the messaging. And I think the people that are pushing that message, because I don't know what happened to the other hosts that we've had in the past. I thought they handled their Fan First Fridays relatively well. This feels, I think maybe aside from Jordan, who I've seen a few times, Bill, maybe not so much in and out on the broadcast type of thing.
Yeah.
But I feel like we've had before in the past a plethora of hosts and co-hosts that have really brought that energy, really brought the knowledge, and hopefully it's an idea of appeasing to not only just the collectors that you already have, but people that are new to the franchise or don't collect like myself. You have to impress every time out.
Yeah, I mean, speaking as the one in, like the one out of us who's in that
Nick's the
collector
problem.
market,
Nick's the
yeah, like I'm the one who has these problems. Like
I gotcha.
Like Adam, I've told Matt, I've told every guest here, like I've bought the helmets, I have the Bandai stuff, I don't have the Power Sword, which is why like out of all these announcements, I was like, hell yeah, I can't wait to get a Power Sword.
Great.
But this pandemic has introduced a lot of other problems, of course. But once you added 2 to these things, I'm gonna want something that's worth the $200, like the $200. Yeah. Like that's the thing. Like it's not like in that sense. I get the complaints where it's like, yeah, it's cool. It lights up. It's cool. It plays music.
It plays the whole theme song.
Yeah,
and they literally spent the whole time.
Yeah, like that's cool for your daughter, Matt. I'm glad, but as someone who's gonna like as someone who's gonna have it like on my like dresser drawer somewhere, just like it maybe in a box, maybe displayed, but I want that $200 quality. Like I'm looking at the Draken helmet, and like the Draken helmet's already like pushing it. It's like 120, 140, however much it is, and I'm gonna get it, of course. I'm the problem, but
so wait, okay, like, are you gonna get the sword though? Like, I know the price point, but are you gonna order it?
See, that's why I'm the problem. I'm sitting here complaining, but there's a good chance on a good day, if I come like on a good day, I might come across the listing and be like, well, okay, but and you PayPal and all this stuff, but but yeah, but that's the thing. It's I get that disappointment in that as well, where it's like I'm speaking to the me and to the other me's out there who have this same really super first world issue. Like I get wanting more out of a sword or another item that I can get. Like I would want like something, like if you're gonna do like a $200 replica, give me like a $100 cheaper version.
But like what else could they, like, is that it though? So would you rather them, okay, so that's if you're taking the sword that they made, what could be added to it to like justify that price for you?
No, I would say instead go the opposite route. Take away stuff. Like I would say, to make it immediately more appealing, take out the lights. Just make it a plastic sword. Like legitimate. I've got no issue. I don't need die cast metal for these things. Like, oh my god,
that's so cool.
Is it worth for Hasbro to make 2 versions of the same toy?
Oh. It would be worth it to me. And see, this is
right.
Why
one for 15 and under, and then one for like true collectibles if you really want. Maybe one at $100 price point. One at
Xbox S and X. This.
Yes. It's part of that whole speak to your entire audience. Make one for the me's out there, and then make one for the me who's like, I want this, but I don't really want it.
That's not a bad. I mean, okay, just to throw in, WWE does that with their titles, and they
do
true
replicas, fake replicas
of them.
Absolutely.
I have one somewhere hanging around
Me
here.
Too. Me too. Because
I'm gonna get that $450 one day. It's gonna happen. That's a goal. Like that's a bucket list thing. I want a Universal Championship sitting on my like back wall here at some point, and I want the full one. But again,
it's got to be Intercontinental. That cool like
the white or the blue?
Yeah,
or the black.
The black or the white?
The black or the white.
I like the white. I've always liked the
traditional black.
God, the way it looks. I know. I get hate. I get nuclear hate every time I say anything that
didn't
Intercontinental title.
Didn't Honky Tonk Man have a baby blue one? Didn't he have a baby blue? I believe he did.
Baby blue.
Yeah, I would pay $500 for that.
But I agree. I think that might be the best solution. Is do just something really kind of simplified, something that is like pure pure like can be thrown around here plastic and doesn't dent, doesn't anything.
Yep.
And you know what? A lot of collectors who aren't looking for that super high thing, but want the cool lights and effects and want their kids to be able to just come in here and, you know, if they see it on the desk
There
and
we
they
go.
take it, it's not a big deal. I'm down for that. You know,
Do they not? I'm actually surprised they don't have one. Do they not have like a child version Power Sword?
Now for Dino Fury stuff, they have that level of like all the like the Dino Knight Morpher or the sword, which I have somewhere around here. That those are like full on light up, like a less detailed, you know, step down, and those are still in that kind of, I think, middle tier price range. So if they just did that and just extended that to their Lightning Collection line, but kind of make that, you know, like, hey, if you're looking for this, and then I mean, I think that's what
make
I
it
know
like the Cloudy Collection or something. Like just
like I know that the Zord Ascension has had its own critiques as far as like those, but that is, I'm okay with those critiques because they are clear in the messaging of who that is for. That is for high-end collectors that like their items to transform and combine and all that. And so they're holding it to a higher standard when they go, hey, we don't like the paint apps on that, or we don't like how that looks. Okay, because that's who that's for, and that's who's going to pay that amount of money. It's just the replica items, and like that seems to be in this weird gray area, and they just need to either bump it up or bump it down. And I'm okay with that. It's messaging, but I want that damn Power Sword. So I'm gonna.
I do. Yeah, I kind of do want the Power Sword. It looked great to me. I thought the presentation was great.
Like I said, I mean, gonna complain, but I'm probably gonna get it. Like,
okay, here's the thing, Nick.
But I was gonna say real quick, Nick, because Hasbro will look at you and they'll be like, "Oh, Nick purchased this. You know what? That's okay. We should just make all our price points $200 now."
Yep, yep. That's what I said. I'm the problem. I'm the problem.
You have to demo it when you get it.
Absolutely.
You have to bring it on here, and we need a full demonstration of what it does.
Yeah, I'll wear like my Red Ranger helmet with that. Like, I don't know. If I'm paying $200, I'm gonna take it out. Like,
okay, good deal. Dude, I take
everything 200 for a box.
I take everything out of the box. I can't.
I'm at the point of almost getting to that point. Like me trying to decorate my background. I'm like, man, I've got so many of these Funko Pops inside their boxes. I was like, you know what? There are some that say exclusive on them. I might keep those boxed, but the other ones, I'm thinking I'm just gonna take them out now at this point. I can't do it anymore.
Yeah, it's
life's too short.
Yeah,
life's too short to keep in boxes.
The only things I keep in boxes are signed Pops, because obviously, like typically they sign
of course,
the box, right? And then if it's just super rare that I can't find it to buy again, I will get it. So like Nick knows, like Ty Conti's sitting in the box here because it took me forever to track that figure down. And so until I see it just populating stores everywhere, that's not coming out of the box, right? I only have a few that sit in the box. So let's move to comics talk, because Power Rangers announced their new event, Charge to 100, which is, we're going with legacy numbering. So Mighty Morphin and Power Rangers both have legacy numbering, and then this event will collide in the 100th issue. Ryan Parrott is, of course, still on Power Rangers, and then Matt Groom is on Mighty Morphin. Power Rangers 18 also came out this past week, and I look, Power Rangers like that. I've liked both series. I've enjoyed both series since they split. But Power Rangers and the Omega Ranger stuff, that I'm eating that up with like mopping that up with a spoon. Like I love that stuff. And the fact is, and it's Thursday, we're fine. Yeah, I had to double check. I was like, it's not Wednesday, is it? Okay. Thursday, we're fine. Light spoilers here. But oh my God, in space. I was so excited when In Space was, I mean, when you see the hooded figure and they're talking and they're like, oh, that's not the Ranger we're looking for. I was literally geeking out on my screen. Oh my God, it's Andros, right? And then we get there and it's both big thing. And all the In Space stuff previously with like Ecliptor and Astronema was all really good, but it was kind of scattershot. Like it didn't. Now it seems like we're actually moving into this thread and we're gonna kind of go full force with it for a bit. And I am down. I'm biased, I know, but I am down. So I mean, what did you guys? Are you guys excited for this Charge of 100 thing? Are you kind of burnt out on Power Rangers events? Where do you sit?
Well, for me, I will say it's been a minute since I've kept up with Power Ranger comics. I think there's a part of me that kind of has gotten burnt out. Not to say that I haven't loved them, because we used to review them on A Plus More Phenomenal all the time. So I love the writing style that that Ryan and everybody else is certainly bringing to it. But I personally have fallen off. But I will say this: I've been waiting for them to start introducing sort of like that next chapter of Power Rangers. So the fact that we finally do have In Space, like you mentioned, that actually kind of gets me excited to kind of want to go back and start reading a little bit, because I did love the Ecliptor and Astronomo one shot that we wind up having. You can kind of start seeing them really pushing in that particular direction. A lot of the Easter eggs we have been getting from the Power Rangers series itself. So this feels like a natural progression for me, but I'm pumped for it. I know a lot of people have been asking me, Adam, when are we gonna step away from like the MMPR, stuff? Are we ever going to get other teams? And one of the things that I've always said is I would love to see either a Zeo team pop up or In Space at some point in time. And it feels like we're finally getting that. And along with the Power Ranger universe stuff that they have with utilizing the Die Ranger costumes and stuff, really going back with the Morphing Masters, really great stuff. Really, really, I love what they're tapping into. But I unfortunately have just kind of fallen off over the past few months, and comic books are expensive these days, man. It's hard to I used to have like a subscription at my local comic book store. I would go in there every Wednesday and I would get like 10 comics, and I would find myself dropping $40 to $50 a week. And I'm like, my God. So eventually it just eventually I had to kind of step away from it. But I love what I'm seeing. I'll say that.
Yeah, Nick.
Yeah, Matt, I've fallen off of them completely. I jumped off when they split. I jumped off. That's
when you jumped off. Okay.
Yeah, because until then I was doing it like I'd buy a couple issues every once in a while, and then I'd collect the volumes. But once they split, I was like, I'm not keeping up with two comics at the same time. So I just have not. I hear about all this stuff with Zordon. I hear about all this new stuff that's happening, and I hear Matt being super hyped about it all.
It sounds
like it sounds
comics,
cool,
man. Look,
I know, and Matt is fully, and the show. I mean, the show's history has me on here multiple times talking about the relative like worth of the comics canon to me and all that stuff. But
yes, I have.
I mean, if this 100 issue thing means we get one joint issue after this, then that will bring me back in. If I can just, if they're like, okay, now we're Mighty Morphin Power Rangers again, then I'm like, oh, okay, here I go. I will legit buy all the stuff I've missed out on, and I will catch up in time for that. But if it's just going to be a climb to 100, and then we're going to keep. Like we're gonna introduce a third series or something. I'm good. I'm good on that. Have fun, everybody.
Can I say something real quick, Matt? Before you go? I just want to say, if anything, I will probably be picking up the 100th issue. I do love me some milestone comic books in general. So the fact that Power Rangers has made it to 100, I find that pretty incredible, to say the least, and very well deserved. So I probably will be picking it up, because I think for me, when I first jumped into the Power Ranger comics, the very first issue I wind up getting was the Grace Sterling storyline, where they focused on Zordon's team from the 60s, the Moon Mission. That's the first comic that I wind up picking up, and it hooked me. And I think for me, I wind up jumping off shortly after they wind up splitting. So we do have, I think I was checking out the Omega Rangers. I think Lord Draken was, they had him already as captive. I don't think he was like part of the team or anything, or had made his big turn. But I had really loved what Ryan was doing with Trini. I think she's probably one of my favorite characters out of that arc that they have. And I really love the back and forth between her and Draken and how they play off of each other. And Jason really continued to kind of grow on me. So I want to say maybe within the past 6-7 months, I've kind of jumped off, but I definitely stuck around a little bit past them actually splitting the two series up.
Yeah. I will. So one, to your point, I liked Trini, like in the original show and everything.
Right.
I wouldn't call myself like a giant, like I was just like a diehard fan, but I would say I always really enjoyed her and everything. the comics for that character have done so much in expanding her, not just her role, but like her dynamics between everybody else. I
Absolutely.
adore Trini now. And I will
Mhm.
credit that to the books of just like she's my even in the Omega Rangers, she is my favorite character
Yeah,
in
I
that
agree.
series. She has a freaking hammer, and she's so confident, and she's so like her dialogue, like you said, the dragon stuff, like they're back and forth, and even now, as we're starting to like get into kind of the in space stuff. That's why I actually am really excited because now we're getting it's going to be like Andros Trini stuff, and it's just oh man, that
That's
character
true.
is an MVP. Also, I will say I don't one I like that Mighty Morphin, which has still keeps the kind of core group together, but they're doing some really inventive stuff with kind of
Mm.
splitting them up a bit and shaking things up with bringing in the Machine Empire has their main villain essentially.
Wow. Okay.
And so Power Rangers has their thing when they're kind of moving into the in space stuff. And now Mighty Morphin has their own path. And I also will say, if you were a fan of the Grace Sterling stuff, Mighty Morphin is also leaning really
Really heavy into that?
heavy into
Okay.
because she's the only thing that is kind of like from what's left of Promethea and Grace and Matt now, right, as Green and
Mhm.
everything, are like the only things that are really able to defend the home base with some of the other Rangers gone. So like they're really leaning into those dynamics and everything. There's a lot to really like. I will say I would actually I think I would be disappointed if they merged at
Mm.
100. And if I
Mm.
had to make a decision, I would I want to read both, obviously. But Power Rangers is the one that like gets like I'm excited every single month for that, and because of their setup, they're able to like because they're out in the cosmos and they're going to other planets and they're answering distress calls. Just the nature of what
Mhm.
that book's the core of that book.
Right.
They're able to do more inventive things, I think, than hey,
Absolutely.
we're in Angel Grove again. Hey, we're doing this, and even I will say Matt Groom has done a really good job of finding a way to bring some of that far-reaching stuff in and still keep the you're still in the same town, but like some of the Rangers are off on this other world and stuff. That's really interesting. But just at its core, I think Power Rangers speaks more to me. And if I had to stick to one, I would stick to that. And I would feel it would suck for me to bring them all back into one book because there's not enough time.
Mhm.
The core team is already pretty big once you start factoring in characters like Grace and Matt. And that's a lot to focus on in one issue. Then you want to add 3 more Rangers or 4, actually. Sorry, Yale. I apologize. 4 more Rangers, and then a whole other their backstory. There's not enough space. Like you'll end up feeling gypped because you're not really getting development in any one corner. It's all just like inching forward. I'd rather than be separate and some people just kind of pick which one they want to go with. And that way, at least they're getting full development. But that's me. Whatever.
Yeah,
No one
no,
cares about what I say.
no, I definitely get that, and because I have been, like I said, I have been asked. People have been asking a lot about like, hey, are we going to get other teams and stuff? And so for me, the idea of having multiple ongoing series kind of works for me, just for that opportunity to maybe explore, like you mentioned, some of those other storylines that they can. The idea of maybe being in one does kind of hold them back a little bit. So yeah, when it comes to Power Rangers, I totally agree with you in that sense that it does feel like that series has the potential to do a ton more. With Matt Groom, the new writer for or the Mighty Morphin series, do you feel like while Power Rangers is dabbling in the in space stuff, is Mighty Morphin maybe pushing towards a Zeo incarnation of the team? Do you think, or you think something like that'll get passed over?
I think so far from the it really does feel like he's introducing people to that concept. So of the
Mm,
villains.
gotcha.
I don't know. I don't get the feeling that like we're moving towards like evolving the powers or
Hmm.
evolving into that more Zeo era. I don't get that feeling yet, but I do feel like this is kind of a toe tip into the like we're gonna kind of feel out the waters a little bit, introduce people who maybe aren't really just familiar with Mighty Morphin, feel them out, show how. And because I've actually been really impressed by like how imposing the Machine Empire looks compared to what they typically
Mm,
look like in the show, we're gonna kind of show them a little bit, showcase them. We're not even showcasing the main villains yet. We're just showcasing kind of the edges, right? And then we'll see how things move. But I do think over time, yes, you will get more elements. Just right now, it doesn't feel like we're quite moving into like full on. We're going to transform into Zeo. It really does feel still quintessentially Mighty Morphin. But that's just from a couple issues. It's only really debuted, I think, the last two. And the last issue, the hook for the last issue was very much like, hey, we're going to step into this more. And so I'm excited for this next issue of that. I think that'll tell us a lot. Okay. So let's move to the 30th anniversary is coming up for Power Rangers.
Nice.
And Nick, you were the man and covered this while I was either on vacation or sleeping. I don't know what I was doing.
You were just gone.
You
left me hanging. I was
sorry.
we gotta freak out about this. And
I'm sorry. I let the team down. So tell us a bit, because you wrote it. I feel like this is the best person to talk to about this. What's going on with David Yost?
So a report from the Illuminati, who's been they've been pretty credible when it comes to
shout out Joe.
Yeah, for real. And their report states that David Yost is being told about returning in a role for the 30th anniversary, though they do specify that it's likely a single episode type of return. Okay. But at the same time, they also do tease that multiple actors are being talked to about potentially returning. So that's kind of like the bigger deal about the report to me. It's the fact that David is coming back is huge, and shout out to Lamb, who really was able to record him saying, "Hey, Billy's probably going to come back."
Yes, he did.
He did call it. I'll give him full credit for this. He called it, and now so we'll see what comes of that. That's the thing. Like the report doesn't really get into like the details of of course they have their own speculation, and we'll have our own. But it's like if David Yost does return, then that's a floodgates situation, right?
Yeah,
like if that's probably the most. It's a big get. Not only in Power Rangers terms, but in terms of actually working with the older casts and crews and all that stuff, right? So it's a lot of big things, big steps forward in a lot of ways for this, if that works out. So I'm personally just very excited at the prospect, whether he's in there one episode or in there to be like, hey, I'm still on Aquatar. I'm like, cool, man. Like, do it over Zoom. Yes, exactly. Record his cameo over Zoom, put some water behind him, and that's all I would need.
Oh my god, I really want that to happen now. I really want it to be a Zoom meeting. He says, "Hey guys,"
just a bad green screen of water, right, of an ocean behind them. Yeah,
I'm for it. Like, I am absolutely for it. Like, and if not. The ideal return for me would be to get the I forget the name of the particular episode, but it's that one in space where Adam comes back and he's able to like use his morpher but hurts himself while doing so.
Oh god,
Carlos. It's like always a chance.
I just watched the clip.
Like
Something like that.
No, it's not reinforced
a couple weeks ago.
What's the?
I believe
it's always a chance or something. I forget. I'm blanking on the name.
Yes. So that would be like
that crossover episode on this very podcast. After people who will remain nameless, aka called it not a good episode.
No way! I remember loving that episode. I will go back in our non-existent archives. I will go back in our non-existent archives to find this.
I love Adam. Anytime Adam pops in, man, it's a legendary moment for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I also like how you fit in legendary there. That's nice. That's good. Are you excited for one? Are you excited for just that they're actually getting it seems like a bunch of Rangers? Are you excited for Yost? Adam?
Yeah, I'm pumped, man. I think Yost coming back is monumental. I mean, just we all know his history and his departure from
Mhm.
Power Rangers. I mean, the fact that he's even given Power Rangers now that it is under new management, just his ear to listen
Yeah.
to what they have to say to try and bring him back, I think is huge. And that is one of the things where one of the things that I had been saying is, I wonder what Hasbro offered this man to even come back. Like here's your own show. Hey, here you go. I got to think that the script is decent enough. I feel like David Yost in the past has mentioned, he would only be willing to return if Billy was either like a mentor or had a significant role to certainly play. So even though this is, they're stating it might just be one guest appearance, I got to think it's big enough or monumental enough for David to certainly want to come back, and maybe there's opportunities for more there. But I do think this is a perfect full circle for David Yost and everything that he's been through. And I think as a Power Ranger fan, I think hopefully that makes everybody feel good that he's open to certainly returning. So, I'm pumped for it. As far as other characters that I want to see come back, I definitely would. I do like the idea of returning characters, especially with it being the 30th anniversary. We wind up getting some of the casting sides a few weeks back too, showcasing a girl by the name of Yen, I believe. So we might have ourselves a brand new character. If they are going to be filling up the rest of the team with some returning characters, for me personally, I kind of want David to be the only OG Ranger to certainly come back out of the MMPR team. I wouldn't mind the other positions being filled by more current iterations of Power Rangers, whether that be from the Neo Saban and Hasbro era, or even bringing back one or two from the Disney era. I would be open to seeing that as well. If you want to do the OGs, maybe sprinkle them in how you're doing David Yost in the guest appearance. But as far as having a main focus, I think more current iterations will probably work. But I like the idea that for celebrating the 30th anniversary.
Yeah,
absolutely.
No, I think I agree with both of you. I think if he is indeed coming back, I think that's a big get. Because I honestly, there were like a couple people that there's a couple people within the kind of franchise that I went like, the odds of them coming back are like, and then that's not happening. He was up there. I mean,
definitely
he loves the franchise though. It wasn't about not wanting to or not wanting to, because we've talked about it before. Like he was evidently like working on a script, right, for a reunion type thing. Like he's been in some of the fan projects that are out there. He's been in them as characters. He's a villain in oh man, what it's this.
Is that Unworthy? No, it's not Unworthy.
I can't remember if it's Oh, I'm blanking, but yeah, but he's like, he plays like a future version and he's like a villain and stuff. So he's embraced the franchise and he still is great with fans and everything. It was just always about the understandable treatment that he received during that original show. And also, wanting a part that, even Jason David Frank and Amy Jo Johnson have talked about like getting that small little throwaway kind of cameo in the 2017 movie. And like, they even had to bring that up. Like that wasn't even just like something. So they've always kind of wanted something substantial if you're going to return. And if that's going to happen, you look at what's happened with Austin in that episode where he came back. That's a substantial role. He got like, there was some meat on that bone. The same with JDF when he came back the last time.
They got legend treatments.
You're treated like, hey, it's a big deal. That's what he needs to have. And again, he doesn't have to morph to do that. Billy is an amazing character.
I would kind of want it though. Like, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, he could definitely.
But I wouldn't be mad if he's leaning into the mentor thing, and then he gets like one last.
That's all I need. I just need the one.
Yeah.
I just need the one.
I get it. I feel you. I'm right there with you. I want it. But he's such a well-rounded character. I mean, he was always actually my favorite character in the original series because I always look at him and he's the one that had like a real arc. I mean, if you look at Billy from the beginning and then you look at him when his run with the show ended, that's a different person. Very different.
It was such an important character that they had to send him off even after Yost left the show. Like that's how important Billy is to the franchise as a whole. So that's the other thing too. Like my thing about it is like, I don't know if I want Billy back for just one episode though. That's the thing.
Right.
Like that's also like he's so important. I could see him building a team of his own in like a future,
Oh my God.
futuristic version of like present day Angel Grove or whatever. He's built the next generation of Power Rangers, and like maybe something happens to him to like but I would want him as like a new Zordon adjacent, like whoever. There's always like a human mentor. Like I'd want that.
Nick,
Really
this
would be
idea is
great.
gold. that is awesome, and I'm not gonna lie. If it doesn't happen, I'm gonna be a little
bit bummed. I mean, yeah, maybe for all we know, maybe David Yost's guest appearance is literally the first episode, and he literally puts together this group of this team up or something like that. Who certainly knows? Like, I would like to see David Yost come in, whether that be inventing something, creating something for the team. I would even love for him to be sort of like, I was gonna say like the discovery of the multiverse within the Power Ranger franchise. Like, I would love for him to elaborate a little bit more or explore that a little bit more to maybe even create a further connection to whatever's coming down the line for Power Rangers or something like that. Just little teases and hints I think would really go a long way. But I do like your idea, Nick. The idea of him maybe putting together a team too really works for me. I would love to see any of that.
So I mean, going on full fan fiction on top of that, like let's say Billy discovers the multiverse, right? Like he's like, oh, I've tapped into it, and he's built a new team of morphers and do all of this based on what he's tapped into. Something happens to him. They don't find him until like the series finale, and that's when he fully shows up, fully suits up in the final episode with the team, and then there we go. That's our
dang
right there.
Man.
We need to write Hasbro. We got your 30th anniversary for you.
Yeah,
we just put this all together.
Oh my God.
I will say this: the idea of them doing a 30th anniversary just alone gets me really excited. Like the idea of Hasbro being forward thinking like that to make sure that, hey, we have something for the fans. I don't necessarily know if we know exactly what this is gonna actually turn out to be, but the fact that this is kind of coming out of nowhere. I don't want to say coming out of nowhere, but I think some of the things that we've seen, like a 4 to 5 week shooting, lesser episodes, but longer episodes. I think the Illuminati article also hinted towards that. This feels like Power Rangers on a completely different formula. And so I'm hoping that they're really going into this with a very unique take, something extremely creative and fresh, to not only wrap up the franchise that we know it as, but maybe, like I said, hopefully give us some hints and some connective tissues to what's coming ahead for us. I really hope that they use it as that type of platform, but who knows, man? I'm just pumped that we're getting this.
Yeah, no, I'm sold on that. That's a great idea. And I'm also, and I will say, as far as dream groups, I agree that I want some recent people, because that was always part of the fun of those older crossovers, was that they involved, it was a cool moment to bring in the team that just left and have the new team and have them have some fun interactions. I want someone from Dino Fury, if not multiple, in that group, because I adore that season. I adore this season. And I just don't want them to I feel like we kind of got away from that a little bit. And it's cool to bring all these other Rangers back, because it's almost like making up for lost time in a way. They didn't do them for a bit. But I don't want us to, like, let's not repeat the same thing going forward. I want some Beast Morphers. I want someone from Beast Morphers in that group. Those were two phenomenal casts. So don't sit on, those Rangers.
Agreed.
And I just want someone from Mystic Force. Can we just get someone from Mystic Force?
Mystic Force.
I was actually.
It does not exist.
It gets no love. No love.
Well, during what
I did love Vita. I think Vita was my favorite character from Mystic Force.
Would be great. Just break.
I think her and Izzy would get along perfect. I think they would hang. I think they're like kind of twins right there.
This is the kind of forward thinking I enjoy on this show.
You know what? You've been lucky, Matt, that every guest we've had on that's helped you with this. Well, I'm one day I'm gonna get a guest who agrees with me.
Between Ranger Slayer and Mystic Force, I have had so much backup on this show.
I do love me Ranger Slayer too. I will admit I do love that side of Kimberly Hart for sure. But I will.
Could they bring someone?
Ooh.
Could they bring someone in that's a mysterious ranger, but have her look like Ranger Slayer? It doesn't even have to be Kim.
That would be crazy.
Just bring the suit in.
That'd be crazy. I will say I do want to throw out one thing. If I did have to choose anybody to come back from Disney era, for some reason in my head, I really would love to see RPM represented.
Yes.
And the person that I would definitely choose, and this might be a big get for them, but I would love to see Rose McIver come back.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
I would know, and the only reason why I say that is like maybe about 2-3 years ago. I want to say here out in Dallas, we had a Dallas Fan Expo, I believe, over the summer, and her show iZombie had just wrapped up, I believe, and so she was out of work at the moment, but she was doing panels and stuff. And I remember Hasbro, I think maybe just purchased Power Rangers, and during the Q&A panel, I did ask her to let her know, like, hey, you know, Hasbro's now the ownership of Power Rangers. They're doing a lot of brand new things. If they ever reached out to you to want to come back to the show, would you ever consider it? And she seemed pretty adamant. She seemed pretty open about the idea. One, probably because she didn't have a job at the moment, so she was open to anything at that point. But she's like, you know, Power Rangers is filmed over in New Zealand and stuff. You know, if they have something serious and a really good script, she's like, I definitely would entertain it. So it is one of those things where I don't know what Rose is up to, but you know, we are on Netflix now.
She's in
Ghosts. Yeah,
Oh,
which is
yeah.
also a great
Okay.
show.
Okay.
She's probably
Yeah.
she's right there for title of most successful Ranger
Power Rangers, right?
Post show. She's got to be.
I would like them to throw in a big surprise like that. I mean, it is Hasbro, better, some great name recognition. Maybe if it's creative enough, maybe. But that, I feel like that's a dream of mine. I would love to see become a reality, though.
Oh man,
A returning Rose.
yeah, Rose, that would be amazing. I love
I,
that zombie.
you know, speaking of that stuff, I'd like to get some retribution for like the cast who didn't get a fair shot. You know, like the Samurai cast or Operation
Lauren.
Overdrive.
I would even take Lauren come back, maybe.
Yeah, like
Oh,
shows
man,
that
would be
you know,
great.
shows that I will openly trash, but I would definitely like. Oh, I'm glad you got a second chance to be like in a good script in a good episode this time.
I feel like Wild
Like-
Force is another one of those maybe
Yeah.
that gets like overshadowed a bit. Like it's a well-received season, but it doesn't get the love and attention that
It still
others do.
has the best crossover though, but that might have been Time Force. So you know who I mean,
Like even
But like
even though
Time
peop-
Force gets that attention, like for
Mm.
sure. Like Time Force gets like it. There's a
Oh.
couple seasons to get all the attention.
I mean, we'd have to see someone from Time Force though, right? Like that's the thing. We like especially is
Jen,
how
maybe.
like yeah,
Yeah.
like for how much Time Force has influence on like the comics and everything.
Right.
Like yeah,
Because Jason
And-
did
and-
it last time. He was part of the last one. So I don't know if he would like do another one. So close. I don't know. Like I don't know. So
Oh,
my
yeah,
vote
that's
would be for
right.
Jen. Yeah, he was part of the Ninja Steel.
oh yeah, that's right. Jason introduced he introduced the multiverse remote. Thing.
I was gonna say
Yeah.
he introduced the multiverse in a very
That's-
expedited fashion.
Very much so. I
Um,
would, speaking of like redemption stories for some people, I would even mind from Megaforce, Gia and Jake to
Yeah.
come back.
Yeah.
Some people even threw out Andrew to play Troy. I'm like, I don't know about that, but we'll see. I was like, hey, if he has better writing, a better director to maybe get more out of him, maybe.
If he has a character.
Andrew.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, I just don't know what Andrew else has been in to see what he's capable of, though.
I love the idea though I love that idea of bringing back a season that maybe got the shaft, whether it
Mhm.
was for writing or just, you know, in like RPM's case, like, hey, we're gonna throw all this stuff out there because we're moved, like, you know, that kind of stuff, even though that season is very well loved. But it doesn't get the TV shine that, I mean, even admittedly for Michael, In Space always gets a lot of love. Obviously MMPR. I'll say Time Force, and then
And Andros coming back would be like super easy to do too. Just slipping Andros who's still out there doing his secret missions in his
look,
hood,
I will
and,
take
like,
TJ was in the Ninja Steel one, right?
TJ, was he?
No,
Someone Ward.
I don't
I
believe
swore
so.
he was in the Ninja
me see.
Steel
I don't think so.
crossover. I swore. No,
Oh.
no, he was in.
No, he might have been actually. TJ.
Okay, remind me, which one is the one where JDF comes back?
Oh, he was. Yeah, he
as
was in the
Dino.
super. He was in the Super Ninja Steel.
Really?
it was
Yeah,
very
TJ
brief.
was
I mean,
in
he was
there.
one of the group.
Yeah,
Huh.
he represented Blue, I think, on the
Yeah.
team from In Space. Yeah.
But he was in there. But again, like, give me a, give like a meaty, maybe something a little bit more than, I mean, I would love for them to go back to a two-parter type thing, as opposed to just making one episode. Like, do a two-parter. Like, that way everyone
Yeah.
gets a little something. But again, now we're
Well,
stretching all the things
Yeah.
of what this is. Make it an hour and a half, and
How many
Hey,
episodes?
like,
How many episodes do you guys think this will be for the 30th anniversary? I mean, are you guys thinking this is a
ooh.
one long movie? Well, I guess they said guest appearance in one episode for David Yost. So, how many episodes do you think we're getting? I'm about the 6 to 8. 6 to 8 is where I'm
if
landing
it's
at right now.
if it's geared towards like our part of the fandom of the like, this is the season for the 30-year-olds who stuck around with the show for 30 years. Like, if it's for us, I would say like a 6 to 8 would be good.
but it's
for
still
me.
gonna
Like,
be so. But it's still gonna be on Netflix, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be on Netflix.
So it would still need to be. I don't know. Maybe that was
like
part
if they make it like an event series, like that's the way I would see it. Is like like a 8 to Dream would be 10, but like if this is treated like a full-on season, then maybe it's the full slate of like the 20. So who knows?
I think it's a full. I think they would do it like they did the Jason one. So like they're planting seeds, little bits throughout, but like then it all kind of comes down to like this big 1 or 2 episode event, but it's still within the main through line of the season. So I think it still stays.
There you go. Billy makes the Rangers. Billy makes the new team.
I mean, what an amazing way to open that up, right? You open the season with that, and then like plant little things throughout, and then he's not in every episode, but he's still a presence because you've already established why all this stuff is mattering. And then when he comes back in, it's a huge deal. Like, I'm down for that. He's already had a great idea. I know we got to roll soon, so real quick, because I know we've me and Nick have jumped in on Dino Fury, and I really enjoy. If you haven't checked out Adam's Dino Fury reviews, you should, because they're awesome.
Thank you, man.
For me and Nick, I believe you were the same way. Some of the Dino Fury Rangers have already jumped into our like top 10 for their respective color. For me, it's Amelia is like already in my top 10 of Pink Rangers. Tessa, obviously, because there's not as many Green Rangers, but even if there were, she would be in the top 10. And for even Zato, I think Zato's a really fun Ranger, and I love what they're doing with him. So I'm pretty sure he's jumped into my top 10. Is there someone from Dino Fury that's jumped into your top 10 for their respective color?
Definitely Izzy. I was thinking about this overnight. I want definitely Izzy for sure. Just based off of all the first that she's achieved in here. Like you said, the idea of just green already being a color that you don't really get too much of. But I do think anybody that's worn green, she's definitely been very much impactful. And I think also for me, Izzy, we mentioned Vita from Mystic Force. She is a unique character in and of her own. There's really not many other Power Ranger characters I could think of that are like her. I know some people may even get turned off by her personality or the way that she reacts to certain situations, but I love the fact that they give her that many layers to really be so different and stand out from the rest of the group. And I love the way that they've handled her in regards to really giving her an ongoing storyline sort of all season long. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Ravi from Beast Morphers.
Oh, yeah.
Like Ravi got a lot of shine in seasons 1 and 2 sort of thing. And I feel like the same way with Izzy. So if anybody, definitely Izzy has jumped in there for me. Definitely probably Amelia also. Like there's a few Pinks that I'm a really big fan of.
Yeah.
So Amelia will definitely make my top 10. I'm not quite sure exactly where I have her on my top 10, but she definitely makes the cut. Like I've seen some people already, like even in my live chats, talking her up more than Kimberly and things like that. So I don't know if I'm going to go that far as of yet, but she definitely is up there. So Amelia and Izzy for me are probably the both. And while I love Zato, I'll have to think on Zato for sure. Because
Red. I didn't give any numbers. Yeah, there's a lot of reds.
There's a lot of reds.
There's a lot of pinks
But-
too. I mean, pink.
Yeah, definitely.
There's a lot
Yeah,
of
and I
pink
think that-
energy out there. Yeah, pink energy.
But so I think for me that I definitely know for sure that's top 10. Izzy along with Amelia for me. Izzy might even be top 5 in her category. Amelia I might put towards that back end of 10 if I had to. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Poo
Right.
Eater. I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
great name. Great name.
I know it's great. Thank you, William. I appreciate
But
it.
yeah, I mean, speaking to Zato, you know, the whole like the battleizer, like we finally get that in season 2, and it's what like I don't know how much of that was like produced here, how much of that was like footage from the original show. It's just I was just blown away by it, and I was just like, wow, Zato is really shooting up in that. Like it's like top 15 for me, and he's really climbing up there after that episode.
He's got such a fun but commanding presence. Look, when we talked to him last time, I was very much like, hey, you know, who do you want to play if you get a chance to do a DC or Marvel thing? And he said Jon Stewart, and I'm down for him.
Yeah, I could see it. I could see
He's got that voice,
his
man.
demeanor and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, it's got the boom. It's just it's
Very
awesome.
commanding. It is something great between his leadership and then the balance of him being that fish out of water that really works for me too. So yeah, I agree with you. Zato is moving up there. I think maybe after the end of season 2, I'll probably go back and see where I'll rank Zato, but he is one of my favorites on the show for sure.
Yeah, can't hate with that. So I know we got to roll, but Adam, you know, where can obviously everyone knows where to find you, but in case someone new is listening, where can they find you and everything, and shout out your stuff?
Yeah, if you want to follow me on social media, right here at A Plus Opinions, very active over on Twitter as well as Instagram, and we also have ourselves a great Facebook page for you to certainly go ahead and check out. And if you want to check us out over on YouTube, I've got 2 YouTube channels. I've got A Plus More Phenomenal, strictly mostly for Power Rangers and Super Sentai. But if you want to get in some talk for Marvel and DC and just movies in general, A Plus Hero Report. Check us out over there as well, guys.
Awesome. And are you guys merging or something, or like you switching?
Yes. Within the next 5 weeks or so, I do believe we are going to be merging More Phenomenal into Hero Report, just to really condense things. You know, Matt, you've got a kiddo at home too. For me, I just recently became a father, maybe about 5 months or so ago.
Congrats.
So life has definitely changed in regards to how much time and availability we have.
Yeah.
So as much as I love my A Plus More Phenomenal and have a place strictly for Power Ranger talk, to condense some things, open my own life up a little bit to spend time with my family, we are taking our Power Ranger talk to Hero Report. So anything new that winds up dropping, we'll talk about over there, especially with the Jonathan Entwistle stuff coming up along with the 30th anniversary. So if you want to subscribe to both, feel free to, but in about 5 weeks, A Plus Hero Report will be the main stop for our Power Ranger talk.
Awesome.
Thank you, Poo Eater. I appreciate that, man.
I know that's awesome. He's amazing.
Shout out to Poo Eater.
Shout out
he's
Poo
so
Eater.
good. He's so good. And you know, for us, give it a little shout out here. We will be. I'm thinking it's still not like 100%, but now I'm seeing a couple people who want to jump in. So it looks like I'm going to be DMing the Power Rangers role-playing game, trying to get Nick here to jump in, trying to get you in here, but I'm going to be doing that. We're going to be doing it on StreamYard. I think I might use Roll20 to actually do it. I'm still playing with like how I want to do it, but it'll be all remote because obviously like a lot of the Power Rangers people I know are not here in Nashville. So I'm going to play on Zoom and everything, but I'm super excited to jump in. I haven't been part of a role-playing game session for a minute. It's been a minute. So, and if I want to do it, I kind of have to find a way to like, I'm very, look, I get it. I'm very much like you, Adam. I'm doing this while Munchkin is taking a nap. That is my Twitch time. That is my streaming time. That's when I do stuff.
I feel you, man.
I've done interviews with like her just like chilling, playing around here, and I'm just like feeding her stuff. Like, look, I get it, right? So you got to fit it in where you can.
Absolutely.
And so me, it was like I have to be able to justify playing this role-playing game. How can I do that? Oh, hey, I can get a bunch of Power Rangers fans who also have very limited time, and we'll all do it at once, and we'll all do it for content, and then boom.
I love it.
Gotta feed the machine. Gotta feed the machine.
Gotta do it. So I will have, as I kind of know plans and everything, I'll have that. But we will have that right here. We'll be on this channel. It'll be kind of a special little side Putty Hour project. And also, we will be interviewing. I've had a chance to talk to most of the Dino Fury cast recently, and we will be talking to Kai, and we will be talking to Simon Bennett very, very soon. So if you have questions, I really appreciate it. And I got some of the questions I got on Twitter and everything in there. But for those of you who have any specific questions, you can send them my way. You can also hit me up on Twitter at Matt Aguilar CB if you so choose. So that's it for me. Nick, you got any shout outs?
We haven't talked about it yet, but shout out to Godzilla versus Power Rangers. I very much enjoyed it. It goes exactly the way you would expect Godzilla versus Power Rangers would go, but that's only issue 1 that I've read, so can't wait to read more. Whatever's out there is out there. I don't know, but shout out to that book. I'm having a great time.
I read the first issue. Is that the one? Is that the one you read?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
that issue was awesome. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, it's got great art. It's great. It's great art. Like I said, Godzilla versus the Megazord goes about as well as you would expect, and it's I'm digging it. I'm all in. Well,
and of course, I'll keep everybody updated on the iTunes Sitch. But in the meantime, you can hit us up on our YouTube channel, Dinofoa's YouTube channel. Pretty easy. And you can find all of our Putty Hour content there. So thank you guys so much for joining us. Thank you, Adam, for jumping in.
Appreciate it. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Thank you always for putting up with my mess. So until next time.
It's the other way around.
Oh, that's so nice of you to say. It's a complete lie, but that's okay.